Well, struggle veterans are mourning today the loss of one of their own. Former Minister in the Presidency, Essop Pahad, joins us now on a Newsday to share some of his memories of Winnie Madikizela-Mandela. Good afternoon to you, Dr. Pahad.
Good afternoon.
How are you reflecting on this very sad afternoon?
For me, it's both extremely sad, but it's also a very happy and joyous occasion because we've had the privilege, the honor, the pleasure to have known Winnie Madikizela-Mandela, to have worked with her. And she knew me. She's born in 36, I'm born in 39. But she knew my family very well, and she used to come to our parents' flat because that's where Madiba used to come all the time. And one thing about Winnie, in every meeting that I've been in, where she has been, like for example, when she was elected president of the ANC Women's League, she spoke about my mother and said, but this boy who's sitting here, he must be like his mother. And so she always remembered my mother. She always remembered my father. But I will always remember Winnie as a gallant freedom fighter, as somebody who was unafraid and who spoke her mind, even when she criticized us, when we were in government, when I was a minister, when Thabo Mbeki was the president. She did not hesitate to criticize us if she thought we deserved the criticism. I must say, maybe at that time we didn't agree with the criticism, but she had that courage to speak her mind, and sometimes she spoke her mind in ways that upset many people. But that's also her strength that carried her through all those years. I don't think any person in the history of our country has had to endure the kind of hardships that she has had to endure. The other thing I want to remember Winnie for is the fight against patriarchy and her fight for the empowerment and emancipation of women. She's a perfect example of a very, very powerful woman who stood her ground, but she wanted to empower other women on the way. And that struggle for a non-sexist South Africa remains a critical struggle for us. And we have to remember this, that in remembering Winnie, we need to continue in the struggle to fight against all forms and manifestations of racism as well as sexism.
One of the strengths, as you've pointed out, was this voice of activism right until the very end. And someone else was pointing out to us on the program today that she had this uncanny ability to be at the right issue at the right time, but often unannounced and unheralded, not looking for any kudos in that respect. And in many ways, that's probably the definition of a true activist, isn't it?
Because one of the things that I think drove her was this total passion and commitment to stand with the downtrodden, to stand with the oppressed. So even after '94, you found her. If there was a funeral in the 70s and 80s, when at every funeral she was there. After 1994, when everything went wrong, in some family or other, Winnie was the first to go and offer her support and condolences. So she always kept that connection with the masses of our people. And I think that gave her an insight into the way people were thinking. And so she was able to act on many occasions politically before many of us, because I think in some ways she was in greater touch with the opinions and the feelings of the masses of the people.
And then to Julius Malema's point earlier, and you saw us playing that audio clip, was she the president we didn't have? Could she have played a bigger role in more formal political structures in this country? I know she was an MP, I know she was a deputy minister for a short time, but should there have been a greater role for her?
Well, if you'll recall, she was a deputy minister, but she also didn't play her cards right. And Mandela had to recall her. And after that, I think she was going to be in great difficulties to serve in any government agency. The question of whether or not she would have made a good president, nobody knows. I think there are quite a lot of other people who still think that they can
do a good job,
and do a better job. Now, if she had become a president and been restrained and constrained by the office of the presidency, I think would have also shackled her style and her way of working. She was always going to be somebody who was going to speak her mind. And I don't know any president who's going to always speak their minds in the way that they perhaps can but shouldn't because of the responsibilities they hold. I think what we should try to remember Winnie for is not what she might have been,
but what she was.
But what she was and what she represented with all of the frailties of a human being. And she was a human being, so she was, as we all are. We've all made mistakes in our lives. But I think she understood some things about the character and the nature of our people that most of us didn't. And that made her much stronger than many of us were. But also her commitment. You see, people, it's true that, of course, she married Madiba at a very early age, married in 1958.
22 years old, yeah.
But don't forget that it was a treason trial. After Sharpeville, Mandela goes in the underground. Then he goes for the Rivonia trial. So she not only had to carry the family as a single parent without much money, but at the same time she had to carry the burden of leading the people in the struggle. Now, one thing about Winnie, which people must never forget, was that she was a very disciplined ANC comrade, by the way. There were times when Oliver Tambo, sometimes Thabo Mbeki, phoned her from Lusaka and said to her, Comrade Winnie, this is not what you should do. You shouldn't do it this way. And she would say, if it's Comrade OR asking me, I'm going to do it. So she was also a disciplined cadre of the African National Congress. So she was not what some people might think, just running helter-skelter, running everywhere. But as I say, she stood her ground, spoke her mind when she thought it was necessary to do so, and when she thought it was necessary to criticize us. I know she criticized me on a number of occasions and said, why are you doing this? Why are you saying these things about me? But I always respected her, and we had a lot of discussions together about many different things. And I must say, I just am so happy and feel very proud that I had the privilege and honor of, first of all, knowing her and then working with her.
Do you recall the last conversation you had, or when last you saw?
Oh, that was sometime. Actually, we had a long conversation at the time when Madiba died, at Madiba's house in Houghton, because I had gone there to the house and she had come, and we spent over an hour just talking about the past, essentially, and what had happened in the past, and then just to look and say what will happen in the future. And then she said to me, and where's Thabo? So I said, no, he's coming. When Thabo came, I said, hey, Comrade Winnie is looking for you. So after you say hello to Grasa, you
better go across.
To Winnie. And so, look, this was her strength. She would come to rallies late, and in a style, but it was also a style that attracted her to people. They found this very attractive in Winnie.
Try and articulate that style that she had. What was it?
Well, look, there's no doubt. There's an overused word called charisma. There just is no doubt at all that she had this fantastic charisma. I mean, she could walk into any room. If she walked into this,
she would own it. I've experienced it myself.
Yeah. And they would go for her. So it's one of these things that she had, that she could go to any place. Now, I remember that we went with Madiba to America the first time in 1991, just after Madiba had come out of prison. Now, in the United States of America, the name Mandela was something to behold. But Winnie was equally as popular. And in the streets there, when you used to go, they used to say, Winnie, 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 Winnie. And she was as popular as Madiba was in the United States of America. So people knew her, they knew about her struggles. When they came to England, when they came to London, And I went with her, for example, to Brixton. Now remember, Brixton was a tough area in London. With the large majority of people from the Caribbean. And we went with Jesse Jackson. And Jesse was a powerful orator. But in that meeting, it was Winnie. People just wanted Winnie. Even Jesse Jackson was there. Afterwards, Jesse Jackson just wanted to interview her. And I said, no, now we've got to go. So she had that real, if you like, mesmerizing presence.
An aura. I've heard people refer to it today.
People, I took some people from the Caribbean who we were working with in the anti-apartheid movement who wanted to meet the Mandelas. And I then took them to meet both Madiba and Winnie. Until today, they haven't forgotten that they met Winnie Mandela and took photographs with Winnie Mandela. So that's the aura she had. That's the charisma she had.
Dr. Pahad, I just want to reflect, or just to pause for one moment, and I want to play a soundbite, if we can, of the Cooperative Governance Minister, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, who says that Madikizela-Mandela's death should serve as a reminder, and this is the bit I want you to focus on, should serve as a reminder to the ANC that it will soon be without, and I quote, the guidance from its struggle icons. Have a look at this, and then we'll reflect on that.